The story continues with Pram sitting beside her mother. Pram's mother tells him that the sword is a symbol of her father's love. She says that as long as the sword keeps shining, his father will always be thinking of them. She then gives the sword to Pram. Pram holds the sword, but suddenly it starts to break and disappears completely. Pram wakes up from his sleep, revealing that it was just a dream. The scene then shifts to Desir, Pram, and Romantica going to Professor Bridget to register their party. The professor notices that Desir has enough party members and offers them tea and cookies. Pram takes a cookie, and Romantica thinks that Pram is really adorable. Professor Bridget gets to the point and asks Desir why he wants to form a party. Desir's goal is to move up to the Alpha class by winning the ranking tournament, which surprises everyone. Professor Bridget questions if Desir realizes how tough this goal is, and Desir confirms that he does. Pram wonders if getting promoted is really that hard, and Professor Bridget explains that it is. She describes the ranking tournament as an exam to determine students' ranks, held with both the Alpha and Beta classes. To participate, a party must have 3 to 6 members. The exam takes the form of a battle between 2 parties, and the rank of the winning party improves. Romantica thinks having more members in a party would give them an advantage. However, the professor clarifies that individual achievements are essential. It's not just about defeating opponents, it's about how much each member contributes to the party's victory. The ranking tournament's purpose is to evaluate students' skills for the qualifying round. Winning parties advance to the final rounds held in a shadow world. The top 9 participants receive the title of single rankers. Becoming a single ranker allows students to move from Beta to Alpha class, earning the name Promotional Tournament. However, no one has ever been promoted before. Romantica acknowledges that the Alpha class has a significant advantage, making the situation seem very one-sided. Professor Bridget mentions that in past exams, all the top students came from the Alpha class, making promotions appear impossible. Desir explains that this is precisely why it's worth trying, and he believes that if a party of 3 Beta class students becomes single rankers, it would prove the professors wrong about Beta class not being worth teaching. Professor Bridget jokes about being a professor there too, and Desir apologizes. Bridget points out that if they become single rankers, they could trigger changes in the Academy's system. She admires Desir's determination and asks Romantica and Pram if they agree to form a party with Desir after learning all this. The scene then shifts to Desir and his group heading to the training area. Romantica didn't know such a place existed in the Academy and thinks it's nice to practice as much as they want. Desir explains that only the Alpha class can use this facility. They stand near the room, and Desir points out that this is the space they can use. Upon opening the door, they find the room in disarray, creaky floors and dust everywhere. Romantica find it hard to believe. Both Pram and Romantica are in complete shock. Romantica takes a step and the floors start creaking. Pram remarks that it's quite different from what they saw earlier, but Desir says that they will have to adjust with it. They notice some rats in the room, which startle Pram and Romantica. The rats quickly retreat to their holes. Desir suggests they clean up the room, but Romantica is fine with dust and spider webs, not with rats. Desir explains there are no other rooms, and Romantica insists she can't stay there. To deal with the rats, Desir decides to plug their holes, and he asks Romantica to tidy up the room. Though she's still uneasy, Desir is determined to use the space, causing Pram to faint. The scene changes as Pram wakes up, noticing that the room now sparkles. Desir is pleased that Pram is awake, and Pram apologizes for making him work with an injured hand. Desir reassures him not to worry and suggests they get going since he's awake. Romantica decides she'll take a shower, but Desir reminds them that they are training to become single rankers. Romantica recalls the moment when Professor Bridget asked if they still wanted to join Desir's party. She thinks that everyone in the Alpha class is much stronger than her, and she doubts she can become a single ranker. Desir then mentions that he thought Romantica was going to uncover his secret, and Romantica admits that Desir's behavior can be frustrating. Still, she agreed to join his party. Pram chimes in, saying he also wants to join to spend more time with Desir. Professor Bridget then approved Desir to form the party. In the present, Romantica reflects on how she knew she shouldn't have joined Desir's party, but she's willing to train if that's what he wants. They all head to the training room, and there, Desir draws a circle on the wall. He explains that he wants Romantica to improve the accuracy of her magic. Romantica claims to be pretty good at magic and demonstrates by using several spells at once. She manages to hit the circle with some windstrike spells. Desir then challenges her to hit the center of the circle with all of her spells, but Romantica thinks it's impossible. Desir believes they have no chance against the Alpha class unless she can achieve it, and he's confident she can because her future self mastered this skill. Desir suggests that Romantica could be the room cleaner until they graduate if she lacks confidence. Romantica asks what he wants her to do, and Desir hands her a ball, instructing her to move it to a circle. Romantica tries to throw the ball, but Desir clarifies that as a mage, she should manipulate the air around the ball to move it to the circle. Romantica struggles to figure it out, but Desir encourages her to use her wind magic as she normally does. He tells her to visualize the wind. Romantica does this, imagining the wind's feel and how it blows, and successfully moves the ball. Desir is amazed that she got it on her first try and asks her to repeat the exercise while it's fresh in her memory. Romantica is delighted to receive a compliment. Now, it's Pram's turn. Pram wonders if Desir will teach him swordsmanship, but Desir says there's nothing he can teach Pram. Pram questions why, and Desir explains that Pram has already perfected his skills as a swordmaster and should be strong enough to win the tournament as he is. Pram expresses doubt, but Desir believes Pram should be fine if he shows his true skills. He remembers how Pram's swordsmanship was excellent with a rapier. Desir asks Pram why he chose a great sword during their recent fight, as it's not Pram's usual style. He thinks Pram's weapon should match his agility, like a rapier. Pram wonders if he needs to talk about this, and Desir explains it's important for their party's overall combat skill. Pram asks Desir to come with him. On their way, Pram wonders if Romantica's training is going well. Desir says that her training is going very well, and he trusts her. Desir reassures Pram, saying he trusts her as much as he trusts Pram. This makes Pram happy, and he takes Desir to his room. Pram tells Desir that he doesn't know what his father looks like. His father was a noble, and his mother was a commoner. He was born out of wedlock, and the rapier is the only thing his father left behind. Desir realizes this is the same weapon Pram uses in the future. Desir wonders if he can see the rapier, and he shows it to Desir. Desir notices it's really light. Pram explains that when he was 6, he started learning about swords because he wanted to see his father. He wanted to be a respectable son. But before his mother passed away, she warned him not to try to find his father, as he lived in a different world. She never told him his father's name until the end. Desir thinks that, for a noble, having a child with a commoner would be seen as a disgrace, and if Pram had gone to see his father, he might not have survived. Pram reveals that he enrolled in Hebrion Academy to find his father. Many nobles from different countries come here, so he thought he might get some information. He hoped that getting the rapier appraised would provide a clue, but he was told it had no value as a sword and wasn't something a noble would leave. Pram feels devastated, thinking that his father's love for him and his mother was the reason for the rapier, but now it seems like worthless trash. He decides he'll never use the sword again. The scene shifts to Pram training with a great sword the next day. Romantica is also training and proudly says she mastered it in just 3 days. Desir praises her, but the ball is still not inside the circle. Then Desir remembers the item Donetta gave Romantica and asks Pram if he can see his sword again. Pram sadly explains he can't show it because he sold it. We see the store where Pram sold his rapier, and the store owner is laughing upon seeing it. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more anime recaps.